Welcome to the September 15, 2022 regular meeting of the Human Services Advisory Board. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:03. Thank you all for attending. I will now call roll for the record of board members' attendance. Allison,
Here.
Mary Earls,
Mary, you're muted.
I'm here.
I know I saw you. Okay, Ruben,
Here.
Monica, and I'm here. Joanne Parsons, Gloria, she's not here. And Mariana.
Present.
Okay, with five numbers, let's see, out of 7 voting members in attendance, we have a quorum. Staff, is anyone present in person, online, or by phone to speak during the citizen comment period?
We do have several attendees. And so if we have anyone, and we also have Monica Gonzalez trying to switch over to panelist, just FYI.
Okay,
So I'm trying to promote her to panelist. And then we have several attendees. And so if you could raise your hand by clicking on the raise hand button, if you want to speak. Okay, we do have someone wanting to speak, I thought. Let me repeat the instructions, sorry. If you would like to speak during the citizen comment period, would you please raise your hand? Okay, it looks like we do not have anyone who is here to speak.
okay. We will now consider approval by motion of September 1st, 2022 meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I so moved.
Okay,
Second.
motion is made by Ruben. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Mary is second. Okay, does the board have any discussions or corrections regarding the minutes? Okay.
We
since
do
the
just
board
have-
vice-
I'm sorry, Joanne, we do have one correction, which was that Monica Gonzalez was absent. And we show her as
Which was
present.
what?
Monica was absent and we show her as present, and so we just need to change that on the minutes.
Okay. Okay, since the board's vice chair has resigned from the board this evening, we will elect a vice chair for the board. You can feel free to nominate yourself or anyone else for this position. Do we have any nominations for the position of vice chair? And can I also add that if you do have a nominee for vice chair or you're nominating yourself, make sure that it's someone or you can be present here at the library every other Thursday.
Are you
If you
taking
cannot,
nominations?
then I would recommend not nominating yourself or someone that cannot do that.
Wait a minute.
So are there any nominations?
Joanne, I nominate Ruben Garza.
Ruben, if you're nominated, do you have a problem coming on every other Thursday here at the library?
Can I just stay mute? No, I'm kidding. Yes, I can do that.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay, so then, okay. We will now hold a vote for the position of vice chair by roll call. When your name is called, please state the person's name you're voting for to be vice chair of the board. Carol, will you please call the roll for us?
Allison,
Here.
and so are you voting for Ruben Garza as vice chair?
Oh,
Or
sorry.
someone
yeah,
else?
Yeah, in favor of.
Okay. Okay, Mary,
Yes, I nominate Ruben Garza as co-chair.
okay, Ruben,
Yes,
and Monica,
Yes.
and Joanne.
Yes, Ruben.
Okay, then we have 5 votes for Ruben Garza as vice chair.
Okay. Thank you.
thank you, guys.
We will now receive a 5-minute presentation by the applicant agencies for each program that was listed on this evening's agenda. Each agency will receive a 30-second warning as the 5-minute time limit is approaching. Each presentation will be followed by a 5-minute question and answer session between board members and the agency regarding program or application. Members of the public are welcome to listen to the presentation, but will not take part in the discussion or the question and answer session. Time limits will be strictly enforced on both the presentation and the question and answer session. Since I'm a voting member of the board, so that I can devote my attention to the presentation and discussion, staff will introduce the presenters and track the time. And that will be you, Carol.
Okay, the first agency presenting this evening is Minorities for Equality in the Economy, Education, Liberty, and Justice, or MELJ. The program is Iron Sharpens Iron, and the presenter is Latrice Cook. And so Latrice, you are up. Latrice, you're muted.
I have a brand new computer. I want you all to know that that's very important.
Okay.
Finally, ever. Good evening to everybody. Thank you all so much for your time this evening to this committee and the chair. I am the executive director and founder for Minorities for Equality in Economy, Education, Liberty, and Justice, also known as MELJ Center. And as you all are aware, we were partially funded this past fiscal year, and it was our first time coming to you all with our services into the San Marcos community. We have a request in, as you know, for the corrected for a budget amount that will allow us to be more in a full-time capacity. I would like to talk about Iron Sharpens Iron and what makes MELJ unique to the work that we do. We are an organization that's founded to work specifically for people who have gone to prison and their families. We provide a myriad of services, more directly services that are tailored specifically to individuals, because as we know, in this particular realm of work, there is not a one size fits all. We provide services that include an academic reinstatement for people who have a desire to go back to school. We have a substance abuse referral program. We actually do direct intake with individuals based on their needs. We work a lot specifically with parole directly, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, providing assistance to those individuals who are actually on parole. If they have a child or someone attached to their family who may need services because they are becoming delinquent in the juvenile justice system, we do assist them there. Iron Sharpens Iron is a program that encompasses a holistic approach to how we assist people to successfully reacclimate back into the community. One of the reasons why it requires us to have a certain level of funding is because it takes a lot of individualized work for one person for us to assist one person successfully. Because people have all different kind of things, and not only are people being returned back into our communities with a felonious background, but because contraband is so high in prison, people are now coming back addicted, or not only are they felons, but then you come back almost to junkies. And so our work is heightened. The need for many more people involved in this work is really heightened because you're dealing with many issues. A person that has been incarcerated, removed from the community, maybe for a long period of time, doesn't understand how to even put a card in a card reader to get gas. It's all these things that we provide to individuals who seek out our services. I do want to take a minute and talk about what we have done since we have gotten funding from you all. We had many delays. It was a real big issue trying to obtain a place to actually work out of. We finally acquired a lease on July 7th of 2022. It's a 6-month lease, very restrictive. They will not allow us to bring our program participants into their space. We're at the Hays County Family Justice Center. We have no access to the space after 5:00 p.m. We can't go in on the weekends. There have been many barriers in trying to acquire space. We had a person who stated that they would allow us to have space, went to go to the space, and then they had a parking concern. And then I believe that it was just a concern, even though they have a heart for this population, there's still
30 seconds.
There's still a fear of the population. We have attended multiple community events surrounding criminal justice issues locally, some hosted by Mono Amigo, Hays County Jail Advocates, and we have developed some additional relationships. Giovanni Terenicio, who is a vocational rehab services person with Texas Workforce Solutions, I believe. We had a first contact with her in January, and then actually referred people to her on February 13th of 2022.
5 minutes.
We've had a difficult time just in substantial getting everything together with our initial contract, as I'm sure that can be vouched for, and we got those things squared away. We just had a couple of delays in getting started, but we are confident now that we will be able to start attending a lot of more and having more meetings with some of the elected officials in the community. And so we are asking for your support in order for us to continue into this work in a full capacity now. Thank you. Are there
Okay,
any
thank you.
questions?
Yeah, now the 5-minute question and answer session will begin.
Ms. Cook, this is Ruben Garza. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
There's two questions I had. One, your mission statement says that you work with high-risk youth and people that have been incarcerated or that are coming out of prison. How do those two interact? What do you do for high-risk youth? Are you talking about high-risk youth that are in the juvenile system or just high-risk youth in general?
I mean, we can work with high-risk youth in general. They don't have to be in the juvenile system. Any child typically who is a child of someone who has previously been incarcerated is definitely at risk and has more interactions and infractions with delinquency. And so we have people who seek us out just based on reputation and work that we've done, who might ask us to work with their children and maybe even just talk to them, provide counseling or some redirection. And we have done that for at least 10 years. I was a certified minor in possession of alcohol awareness. So I have had a directly experience in teaching and working with the juvenile probation departments for 21 and under who were in possession of alcohol and had to take this course. And so our program had been certified for over 10 years in doing that. So that's basically our interactions with youth. And I have a personal interest with youth, regardless of whether they are actually in the system or out, just because I recognize that we need to stop this cycle at that age prior to even entering the prison system or the criminal justice system.
Ms. Cook, the second part of my question is, do you have plans to expand your board? Every board member you have is not even from the area. They're from Austin, Round Rock, other places.
Well, I don't necessarily, I'm not against expanding my board at all. because we have not a long history in working, we have worked with many people over the years in Hayes County, but we do not, we have not had a opening where we actually put additional people on our board in any area. So we've not been by our bylaws or anything required to necessarily have anybody from the specific counties we work in. We actually have worked, and we were founded in Bastrop County, and I do work also in Caldwell County, and that hadn't been a requirement, but I'm happy to consider that, yes.
I think if I looked, you don't have anybody from Bastrop. I'm not sure, but I don't think you have anybody from Bastrop. Round Rock, Austin, Dallas. You have somebody from Dallas. Anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Cook.
Just so I can provide clarity for our board member in Dallas, she's a former attorney here in Austin, and she relocated to Dallas after her divorce.
Thank you, Ms. Cook.
I had a question. So I did not see a projected or proposed budget in the application. And so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what fraction of the cost to run the program does this request cover, and what exactly do you see yourselves like using that for?
The majority of initiative, I don't know if we didn't, I thought we included a budget in this, but the majority of our funding is used for direct program services, whether it be contractual services that we provide, specifically in the area. We have need for where we have paid internships as well within our budget. We don't just have interns. We try to pay our interns something to incentivize them, and so that they will focus on the work and not worry about, trying to do an internship, go to school, and have an outside position. There are things that are required just in our operational costs, rent, everything that's associated with that internet. We haven't even really been able to utilize our office space yet, and we've already had $700 in costs just on internet and phone expenses in the building we're in, because of course they wouldn't allow us to utilize their phone system that's existent or their copiers or anything like that. So we had to provide all of that into the office space that we are in currently.
5 minutes.
So basically the majority of our budget goes into, staff cost, operational cost, and then program costs. We do provide some funding, some assistance to our program participants, dependent on what they need, whether it's a cell phone or some assistance with housing. So a lot of those costs, probably at least $25,000 of our budget, goes out on expenditures for client assistance.
So
Okay, and
I had a part of my question that was unanswered. So what percentage of this request covers like the overall like funding for this program?
When you say that, are you asking it? Do you want to just be specific? Are you asking how much is going in personnel costs? Is that what you want to know?
No, ma'am. Exactly how much is it? Are you anticipating that it'll cost to roll out this program in Hayes County?
It costs us $200,000 to operate in rural county. It costs us $200,000 easy.
Okay, thank you.
okay, and we'll have to stop there and go on to our next presenter, and that is the San Marcos Public Housing Authority.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much, Latrice. The program that's going to be presented next by the San Marcos Public Housing Authority is SMHA Resident Services, the service coordination for that. And the presenters are Jean Martin and Bonnie Pacina.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you for having me. I'm Gene Martin. I'm the Resident Services Director for the Housing Authority. And you said that you kind of wanted to hear something that wasn't in the application for the presentation. So I kind of been thinking about that. And something that doesn't show up on an application, and it's hard to present, is we've been doing this for over 30 years in different forums. And we've been doing it long enough that some of the kids that have been in our program have come back to us as adults, and they're sharing with us, what a difference the program has made. That doesn't fit nice and neat on a spreadsheet, but it's real data nonetheless. So the kids that we work with, most of them, all the families we work with are low income families, a lot of single moms, and they're working. And so the kids have a place to go that's safe after school in our program. So our program, we work with the families, the whole family. We do case management with them. We kind of look at from a strengths perspective, trying to find out what their strength is and kind of focus on that. We work with the elderly as well. But I'm conscious of the time. It went fast on the last presenter, so I'm conscious of 5 minutes, and I want to leave some time for Bonnie to speak. But I asked Bonnie to speak. She's one of the coordinators that we have in this program. Bonnie's been doing this for over 30 years herself. So Bonnie Pacina is over at CM Allen Homes, where it's flooded a couple of times over there, and we were working with the families there. But Bonnie, I'd like you to just tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis and talk to us about some of the kids that have come back and what they've told you. And Carol, could you unmute Bonnie for her? And if not, I can go over there and unmute her. Hold on. Should be on, buddy.
Is that, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, like Jean said, I work out of the CM Allen Homes, and my job as a service coordinator is working with the families in general, working with the elderly, and one of our main thing is working with the youth on a daily basis. We have our after-school program that provides a meal every afternoon. We get students from the university that come and help out with our students. And like Jean said, we've been doing this quite a while, and we do get students that were younger, they come as adults. I have one picture here that I don't know if I hope you can see it, that just last month he came back to express himself of what he got when he was in our after school program. He,
Higher, Bonnie.
yes?
I didn't see the picture. Lift it a little
Oh, I'm
higher.
sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Bonnie.
You're welcome. And he expressed to me just how much he appreciated someone being there for him and believing in him, that he could do it, because I think all our kids with support can make something of themselves. We have a student that just went to A&M on a scholarship. That was, to me, that's a huge success. But I visit with the families, enroll the kids, and
30
get
seconds.
volunteers to help them, encourage them. The university students are role models for them, but they need to feel accepted. And to me, they all have potential, but they need that someone to believe in them. And that's what we're there for. The students don't show up, go knocking on the door, what's going on?
5 minutes.
You need help, we're here for you.
Okay, and I guess I'll have to cut the presentation off. I'm sorry, and thank you very much. And so we will start the question and answer period.
Okay.
You said that you serve meals. Where do your meals come from?
During the summertime, they came from the San Marcos School District. But during the school years, the Austin Food Bank brings the meals to us on a daily basis.
So this is not something that you have to pay for.
No,
And about how many after-school students do you have participating?
oh, we have about 25, but since the pandemic, it's been kind of hard because the school buses don't come as they used to before, but we're there for them. Our feeding time is 3:30 to 5:30. And the second group, which is the older kids, high schoolers, junior high, they get there about 5:15, just in time to get a meal. And so they do that.
And Ms. Parsons, we also have the programs also running over at Allenwood Homes. There's about the same amount of kids there as well. So what Brian was speaking of was just at her site.
Okay.
Gene, can you talk a little bit about the drug program? It used to be DARE, it's something else now that you all house.
Yeah, it's we call it the CAD program, or Kids Against Drug program. And you know, we work with Synacor that comes in and they'll do presentations. We have folks come in also just about alcohol abuse. They'll come in and they'll put the goggles on the kids and they get to see what it's like. This is what it's like after one beer. This is what's after 2 beers. And they kind of talk them through it and they get to experience that. But the biggest thing that I think that we do is we provide them a safe place to be in that critical hour or hours after school and before the parents get home. Plus, people like Bonnie are just there encouraging them, lifting them up. So, you can do this, pumping them up with their really positive self-esteem.
How do you afford taking the kids to Fiesta Texas and SeaWorld and all those type of programs?
We get money from the Lions Club. The Lions Club will give us, we get grants from that. So we use those funds for that. You have also some funds from United Way as well that we use for that.
I have to tell you, I cheated a little bit. I had lunch with 2 foster kids today and your name came up. And they brought all that up and they said they could tell the difference between the friends that didn't go to your programs and the friends that did go to your programs. So the ones that didn't go to your programs are in prison or dead. And so I think they're very critical programs. I congratulate you on doing it for 30 years. It meant a lot to them. One's a warehouse manager for Chewy's now. The other one is a video choreographic person. He said he's willing to do commercials for the Housing Authority for free.
Awesome.
But trying to get him to do anything for free, I'm shocked.
Thank you for that, Ruben.
I commend you for the service. Both of you, Bonnie, you too.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the San Marcos Housing Authority?
Your elderly assistants, what assistance do you provide for them and how many do you have on a daily basis or weekly?
We provide food. We get food donations from several restaurants. So we pick up on Mondays and then Tuesdays. Tuesday and Wednesday. And so once we get the food, we go around and distribute it among our elderly, especially some of them will say, it's almost the end of the month and their food stamps run out. So we make sure that they get some food and they don't have to go hungry. And they like one of the restaurants, it's Olive Garden, and they love it. And the
I'm
other one
sure.
is Cheddar's, and they also like that. And
12 minutes.
they look forward every week to our delivery. Plus, we have a program called Hope that is a bag of food once a month for our elderly. And each site has their elderly that they serve every last Tuesday of the month. And so that kind of helps with their needs for food.
I know we're out of time, but this also, we help with socialization. A lot of the elderly are just kind of shut in. And so they come to the centers, they come out and they congregate and socialize with one another. You know, they'll come in with, I've got this thing from Social Security office. I don't know what to do with it. So we'll help them work through those kind of issues. And if there's medical issues, we work with, bring them services in-house for them. So sorry to take more time.
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And so we will move on to the next presentation. The next agency presenting is Hayes County Child Protective Services. And the program is Hayes County Child Protective Board. And the presenter is Mary Cobble. Mary, it's all yours. And we are having a substantial problem hearing you. So we'll start the time, Brandon, whenever they're actually up and running.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, that is much better.
Okay. I can work to get our video back, but I'm afraid it may be one or the other.
Okay. You're welcome to go ahead and present without video if that's helpful.
Sorry.
Okay, and if you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Can't hear.
Okay, that sounds better. Try again. Okay, no, I can barely tell that you're talking.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
That's great.
Okay, sorry, guys. I'm Mary Cobble. With me is Jody Steen, and we are members of the Hayes County Child Protective Board. We thank you for this opportunity to present information about our board, and we're eager to answer any questions you might have. Many decades ago, the state of Texas realized that more local involvement was required in order to provide for emergency and other unmet needs of abused and neglected children who are in state care. As a result, in 1978, the Hayes County Child Protective Board was established by a contract between the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services and Hayes County. The board is made up of 14 citizen volunteers from across the county. We are appointed by the Hayes County Commissioners Court. The Child Protective Board is mandated to work directly with the Texas Department of Child Protective Services, CPS, to serve all abused and neglected children in the county who are in CPS care. Our mission is to provide a safe environment for all the county's children and to enhance services to families and children who are clients of CPS. We work directly with CPS liaisons to help meet emergency needs and to help provide children in their care with a more stable environment. We do this two ways. We operate the Hayes County Remy Rainbow Room. The Rainbow Room consists of a distribution area where caseworkers are able to get emergency items like diapers, formulas, hygiene supplies, car seats, pack and plays, clothing for infants and toddlers, blankets, and emergency overnight backpacks for children. In addition to the distribution area, the Rainbow Room has an office area for the caseworkers where they can try to find placements for newly removed children. It has 2 bathrooms, one with a shower for older children and one with a bathtub for smaller children. It also has a dining area where healthy snacks and food are stocked. There's a large playroom for the children that includes a sleeping area for infants. CPS workers have 24/7 access to this facility. We are really proud of this. We opened it in December of 2020. Additionally, our board meets once a month. Part of our meeting is dedicated to reviewing specific requests from CPS for individual children and their care families. Currently, approximately 65% of these children are in relative care, often with grandparents on fixed incomes. Unlike foster care, relative care families receive almost no support from the state, and special consideration is given to those requests for helping relative care families. And some examples of monthly requests are clothing vouchers for new removals. These children come into care with basically only the clothes on their backs. We have a lot of requests for safe bedding, back to school clothing vouchers, because we all know that how one looks on the first day of school matters. We help with daycare, athletic and summer camps, and this helps to provide a more normal life for these children. Unmet medical needs, and these are the items like glasses. Medicaid will only provide for 1 pair of glasses a year. So when that 6-year-old breaks their new pair of glasses, the board steps in and purchases a new pair. We also pay for items like cranial helmets. Most insurance and Medicaid will not pay for these. And we have infants that come into care with badly misshapen skulls. And we believe that children should not have to live with that deformity if it can be resolved.
30 seconds.
We pay for transportation for sibling visits, holiday, birthday, milestone gifts, and other safety items. From 2011 to 2021, the number of children in Hayes County increased by 36%, but the number of children in care, in CPS care, increased by 172%.
It's 5 minutes.
Okay,
Well,
so we'll go ahead and cut off the presentation at this point and open the floor for questions.
If there are no questions, may we use the 5 minutes to continue?
I don't see why not, but let's give them just a couple minutes,
Okay.
or like a couple seconds for questions.
Hi, Mary. One question from me. So you mentioned that you're in partnership with the Texas Department of Child Services. So would you be providing just Hayes County services through your programs? And then what sort of partnership does Texas State provide for your programs as well?
We work directly with, it is the Department of Family and Protective Services. Under that department is Child Protective Services. we work directly with them because the caseworkers know what the specific needs of the children are. And they bring those requests to us in our monthly meeting. And then also the Rainbow Room's available and is stocked with all kinds of emergency items that the caseworkers can come and get. And I believe part of the application, we may have included some process documents for the Rainbow Room and for the request process.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Mary, I don't have a question for you, but when you continue, I sure would like you to talk about how the board interacts with the decisions being made to dispense the funds, like clothing, medicine for lice, things like that. Like what discussions are held? How's it reviewed?
Lice is a good, yes. And if a caseworker brings a request for lice treatment, it's pretty much a done deal. We will fund that request. Also, in the Rainbow Room, we have lice kits, so caseworkers can come just pick them up. A lot of the Rainbow Room inventory comes from in-kind gifts and donations of items like lice kits, hygiene items. We also have several contributors who have specified that their donations be used for Rainbow Room for inventory in the Rainbow Rooms. And then we make sure we're well stocked with personal hygiene items, which includes lice kits. Now, if a caseworker comes to us with a request, sometimes we get a request that, like for help with rent for a mom who's out of work. And when we consider that request, we have to do a lot more research and look at, what are the long-term and short-term impacts of this and what steps are being taken so that the mom or the whatever family is caring for the child, what are their plans to basically be self-sufficient. We also maintain a list. If you go to our website, there's a list of different organizations that offer help for children and families. Did that answer your question at all, Ruben?
It actually wasn't a question. I just wanted to know how the board reviews those requests and how they interact. Because some boards get contentious, but.
Oh, no.
I understand your board works very closely together, which I appreciate, being told that.
Yeah, and we also have some allocation guidelines that we developed over the years so that things like clothing vouchers, we've kind of established what are our normal amounts to be given, like for a new removal for a 6-year-old is a $200 clothing voucher. So those are things the board kind of decides on. We actually review those allocation guidelines every November, and that kind of helps keep us all on the same page for a lot of the repeated requests.
Are there any other questions? And it looks like you have another minute or two, Mary, if you want to talk a little bit more.
Carol, we're at 5.
Oh, we're at 5. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, then we will stop there. Thank you very much. And we will go on to our next agency. Our 4th agency is the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District. The program is Post-Pandemic At-Risk Recovery, and the presenter is Jennifer Vogel.
Hi, I I'm thankful that y'all are allowing me to speak to y'all tonight. We have been, our program has been in existence for 35 years. We were one of the original programs in Texas. We are one of the few remaining teen parenting programs in Texas still. We serve a very at-risk population. We saw a decrease of at-risk populations not returning to the school setting. We had about 30 students last year that stuck out high school. That's a big drop from previous years. So we changed our focus to trying to really help families get that stability back in the family so that they can have their students and their children back in school. We seen a huge increase. We're already up to 70 teen parents in the school this year to date, and we expect certainly more. We have a social worker, and we do a stipend for interns from Texas State in social work that develop with each teen parent their individual plan. Some of it is short term, and then we look at 3 years and 5 years. And our goal is to get to self-sufficiency, but we have been around long enough. We have long partnerships that we can access from community action to church groups. We're running groups at night with multi-generational or just parenting partners, or even just the teen moms to give them supports to better understand parenting and other resources. We work in collaboration with a legal aid out of Austin, Travis County. The Attorney General's office comes regularly. We do Dell's Children Car Seat, where they are able to get car seats and get trained on how to utilize it accurately. And then, of course, navigating any type of academic setting that would better promote their independence as they progress. We've certainly, pushed for a Texas high school graduation from San Marcos, but we will help them look at other alternatives that might be beneficial to them. One of the things we really have to work with our teens on, and that is financial literacy and relationships. And so we work in partnership with Texas State's strengthening relationships and strengthening families. But we also do a big component of understanding, for-profit educational institutes, and then understanding short-term loans and how those high interest rates impact their families. We also like to really give a lot of emphasis to the fathers. They're a struggling need, and they're very hard and difficult to work with, but we really want to work with them in a positive manner. So we do have a fathers group facilitated by a former father, and we participate with the Fatherhood Initiative when it was doing it before the pandemic. I hope that they're going to pick that up pretty soon so we can return. We do case management logs monthly. We work with the Texas State Department of Social Work to audit our records every year to ensure that our data is accurate and we're reporting accurate numbers. We serve about 140 students with about 27 of them out of Guadalupe County. Sometimes we'll have a few out of Caldwell County that are in San Marcos School District, but we serve 113 this past year of Texas, in San Marcos city limits, and then the 27 in Guadalupe County, the unincorporated area that really feeds into San Marcos of Redwood and Rancho Vista. So the students make the individual plans with their social worker or their social worker intern, and then that plan is reviewed daily, weekly, or monthly, depending on those goals and what they're trying to achieve. We're looking at the highest needs right now involving home stability and food stabilities, as well as the biggest margin, which is families are really suffering under social emotional issues. And we have seen a huge increase involvement in child protective services. About 48% of our teen parents are currently involved in an active child support case. A child protective service case. We also
30 seconds.
Okay, we also have identified about 49% are identified as homeless. That means that they don't live with a biological parent and that they travel from different home to home. And this was a huge increase from what our normal number is. And I'm open for questions.
Okay, thank you. And let's start the question period now. Ruben, go ahead.
So I noticed that all your board members are school board members of your
Yes, sir.
board. Have you
Yes.
ever thought about putting clients served on the board to get a perspective, on people that have been served? A lot of states, state requirements are going to, having at least one person or two that are served by the programs.
We do have three, we always keep three of our former students, we call them mentors, that are kind of our mentor advisors. And so they are giving us input on what things worked for them and what did not work for them. And we meet with them monthly and we provide a lunch for them. And of course, any of these after school programming that we do with the specialties coming in, they are invited and a part of that if they want to, or if they want to be a part of supporting it.
Have you made a presentation to the SMCISD board for funding?
Yes, the SMCISD board has been very supportive of our program. They allowed us right before pandemic, they finished our building revamping, remodel of a $1.2 million building. And so they do that and they subsidize where we may have some gap. But this is not a program that is really paid for through TEA student funding. It has to be through kind of a grant program. So they have some discretionary funds that they will help on some things. But they pay our utilities and they paid for the building.
They have a lot of discretionary funds. I'm speaking as former president.
But they're
of the-
very tight about those discretionary funds.
I know. I've been there. That's why we need to put Mariana on there.
There. We agree.
I don't have any more questions.
Okay. We also do, we are the primary responsible party for the sexual education in San Marcos School District. We help provide the data to support why that's important to our community. And we also make sure that we advocate for, and our board's been very supportive in making sure we're using accredited curriculum. And we actually are a district that has decided to be abstinence plus, which means we can talk about condoms and contraception type options. So we have been very proactive in trying to help prevent teen pregnancies. And one of the unique things to our program statewide, the statewide average of repeat pregnancy is about 65%. That's national average. We've maintained less than 1% for over 10 years since we decided to target our repeat rate. We were at 65% too prior to that. We talk with them immediately when they come in and are identified about options and what is best and how to help wait for what's best for them. And then how, important it is to get stable before having another child. And we have a very good success rate.
That's a really incredible number. I was just curious, is that only in the teen phases? So until they're maybe 18 to 21 for that second pregnancy, or is that?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. 18 to 21 while we're following them.
Excellent.
It's a very impactful number. So when we had that number, we would have, prior to cutting that number, we would have approximately 130 teen births a year. And now we're down to 30 births. But that change has been because of the drop of the repeat rate. When you drop at 65 to 68%, that's huge. But that takes constant work. It's not a work that's going to go away and stay stable at that low number. It is an everyday conversation.
And if I understood you correctly, the funding that you're requesting is really around helping those that are currently in a pregnancy situation.
Right.
The advocacy you do around prevention is through some other sort of sectors within the scope that you guys have.
Yes, yes.
Any other questions?
5 minutes.
And we're at 5 minutes. So.
All right.
we
Thank you.
will-
I'm going to sign off.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, our final agency this evening is Bobcat Pride. And the program is the Jeremy O. Torres Emergency Stabilization Fund. And we have 3 presenters, Heather Idala, Stacy McGee, and Karen Gordon Sosby.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to try and share our presentation. Okay, are you able to see our presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So thank you very much for having us. This is our second time presenting. And so we hope we are able to address how we are helping our San Marcos community. We have the Bobcat Pride Scholarship Fund has been in existence for 12 years as a 501c3. And we came to y'all last year because in 2019, we expanded our mission to not only support Texas State students, but to support any 18 to 25-year-old individual who identifies as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, or asexual, or any other of our diverse identities within our umbrella, who resides in the greater San Marcos area, who is facing an unexpected financial emergency where we can provide some stability to them in their time of need. This is our vision statement. I think it's important because we acknowledge that individuals with minority sexual and gender identities experience systemic oppression in the United States and in Texas. And so really our aspiration is to be able to help them be able to contribute to society by helping them have that stability to address an unforeseen financial barrier as they're kind of navigating that transition from childhood into becoming more secure adults, which is that 18 to 25-year-old period. We served, I wanted to touch on one other thing. The reason why this is so important, especially here in Texas, is because there are no non-discrimination laws at the state level for the LGBTQIA community. It's up to either cities or organizations to provide that protection. This creates a lot of fear, instability. This is a community that faces microaggressions on a daily basis and whose identities are debated in our daily news and by our politicians. In the application, we provided some statistics coming from the ACLU and Equality Texas about how discrimination impacts this community and this age population. Knowing that this is a community that is not inherently seeing themselves as being valued in our society, which is why we feel our mission is so important. This past fiscal year, we were able to provide 60 recipients with an average of $198 each. Our upper limit is a $200 one-time award. Of these 60 individuals, all of them identified as gay and within the age range. And then we've provided some information about their gender and sexual identities. Keep in mind that number is more than 60 because there are often individuals who have multiple marginalized identities even just within this community. All of them lived within San Marcos city limits. 68% were attending university, mostly at Texas State, but 32% were not enrolled in college. And we wanted to really demonstrate that this is a community that is in kind of really dire financial needs. They reported that their average monthly income was $714, which is 70% below the federal poverty guidelines for 2022. Okay. We wanted to really share the story of who it is that we're supporting. So I'm just going to read one of the quotes that came through in the application. They've given us consent to be able to share their de-identified statement. As of right now, I cannot rely on any family member to help me, and I'm working as much as I can to provide for myself. Currently, I am moving out of my apartment on the 31st, and I'm not allowed to move into my new one until the 19th of August.
30
This is very
seconds.
difficult. Oh my gosh. All right, I'm going to continue on. Karen, do you want to just touch on?
Sure, just quickly, we wanted to show y'all that a breakdown of our funding. Almost all of our funding comes from donors. We do work to have fundraisers, silent auctions, things like that. But we're very reliant on our direct donations. And then the really important thing is that our expenditures go almost all entirely to our clients. We
5
are
minutes.
an all volunteer board, and so we really have very little overhead.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and we'll stop there and then we'll open the floor for questions. Go ahead, Ruben.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I feel like I asked a lot of questions. That statement you were making about the kid that his apartment wouldn't be ready for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
How did
So that's
106, how much was your average deal? 198 or 168?
$200 is the highest amount. And so most of the recipients are awarded that.
How's that gonna hold him over? I mean, is he, because I had this similar situation with my old college roommate's son, and they had to get him a B&B.
Oh.
And they cost.
Yeah,
$800.
so our program director actually reached out to Home, which is another agency here in San Marcos that helps people who are unhoused, to see if we could help coordinate care. We also work with them to figure out, are there any other backup plans? So yes, $200 isn't going to cover them for that entire period, but at least we can help them out with some resources. Our program manager will work with them and connecting them to other resources, as well as helping them create a plan. So through that process, the student was actually able to identify a safer living environment than being in their car. And our stipend then helped them also be able to have access to food and necessary items during that transition time. This is a huge problem that this age group faces in San Marcos because a lot of these major corporation apartments kick them all out at the exact same time for a 2-week cleaning period. And so we find that there's a lot of instability for our community in San Marcos with these lease situations.
That's the only question I have.
So you're basically giving them a safe place to get help with food or with any type of assistance that they need, instead of going out in the community where they faced issues, they can come to you for the help.
Yeah, and so Joanna, I appreciate you asking that because this was one of the things we wanted to address last year. We had consulted with you after a presentation, and really one of the things that we weren't able to explicitly address last time is that there's amazing nonprofits. I mean, even just listening to the other presentations tonight, there's just these amazing groups out there serving our community, but there isn't always a very clear statement or within their non-discrimination statements, not even an explicit invitation to the LGBTQIA community to use their services as a safe environment. And the hard part is also a lot of these nonprofits are religiously affiliated, and whether that religion has a non-discrimination statement that includes this community or not, the historical religious trauma that has come from religious organizations towards this community can be a huge barrier for them feeling safe reaching out. So our program director also works to identify which of those nonprofits have we had positive experiences with serving our queer community, so that we can make those connections when there are kind of additional resources. So one partner that we've had is the Hays County Food Bank. They have referred to us, we've referred to them, and we know that their staff is explicitly going to make them feel comfortable and welcome in that process. So we're continuing to look to build those relationships with other agencies as well.
Yeah, the reason that I brought that up was because last year you expressed concern about some of these students or people going to the local churches and just really either been turned away or just given a hard time.
Yeah. Or, it's a barrier, right? I mean, a lot of us have our stories about kind of what our religious and spiritual ties are. And so it's not going to be the first place that they would choose to go until somebody else says, hey, we vetted them and they're going to be affirming or they're going to be supportive. So.
Ruben, your hand's up. Do you still have a question or no? Okay.
I'm sorry, no.
No worries, just checking.
So if we were able to be supported this year, we've asked for the $5,000. This would allow us to provide a 25 additional up to $200 emergency stipends. That would allow us to increase to 85 recipients. And while all of our recipients have been San Marcos residents, we would still ensure that that support would be going towards San Marcos residents, because we can support individuals who are within kind of the Hays County area. But so
5
far,
minutes.
word has gotten up here. So.
Okay, and we are at 5 minutes. So thank you so very much for your presentation. And now I will hand it back over to Joanne to continue the meeting. We're having just a little technical difficulty. Give us a second. So let's see. I'm trying to promote Joanne back to panelists.
Yeah, I think it might be because I logged in with my email. So she could use this computer and then I just chime in at 8:25.
Okay, yeah, we'll
That
just
works.
need to see her on video if possible. So,
Oh, I don't think, okay, I can see you. You want me to come where you are?
No, I can do this.
Okay,
All good.
okay.
All good.
okay.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I can hear. Okay.
okay, we're getting a lot of feedback.
Okay, is that better? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Okay. We will now hold discussions among board members on program agencies and applications for the purpose of clarification, comparison, evaluation, and assessment. This discussion is public, however, if it's only among board members. This time is meant to be a free flow of conversation, but please make your comments succinct to allow time for all board members to share if they wish. This discussion will be facilitated by Carol Griffith, Housing and Community Development Manager. Carol, the floor is yours.
Okay, and I'll just open the floor for discussion. If y'all have some specific things you'd like to talk about, or I can kind of throw out a few questions if needed, just to kind of spur conversation. So I'll throw out a question or two. One reason we have this discussion period after the presentations is that there are so many agencies and we want to make sure it was memorable. And so one thing I like to ask is what makes these agencies remarkable to you? What stood out about what they do that you want to remember as you're considering who gets funding?
Well, the public housing, I like that they service both the youth. And then I was surprised at how much they did for the elderly. Even though I know we have Meals on Wheels and other services that the elderly have, I know that they can get lost between the cracks. So it was really good to see that they were able to manage both. Child Protective Services really speaks for themselves, that they're here for kids who need that service. That's why I really didn't have any questions for her, because I know that that service is very needed, much needed in San Marcos. Also, the post-pandemic at-risk recovery. I love this because, but I was really surprised to see that they had so many students who were teen parents. But I'm also thankful that we have an agency that's set up to help them just in case they have these issues as far as pregnancy. Bobcat Pride, I'm thankful for their presentation. This year was a little bit more clear than last year, and that they're just providing a safe haven for these people or people to go to for assistance where they might not can go to a church or any type of organization that is affiliated with any type of religion that is opposed to them and who they are. And then iron sharpens iron. I'm thankful that they're trying to transition to San Marcos, because that is a part of society that we do have, and they do have issues or concerns when they get out of prison, and it's also problematic with their families as well, or with their children, trying to help them transition back into the home or whatever they're going through. So that we have that type of organization here to help them. I'm thankful that they considered San Marcos. I know that they're very active in the Austin area, and I saw how much money that they're asking for. But I think if we give them something to help them transition here, I think they would appreciate it, and they could also probably go to the city or somewhere else to find additional monies to help them transition better here and be able to stay here and offer those services. So that's my overview of everybody real quick.
I know it's more anecdotal, but as the different organizations talk about some of the testimonials, I find that pretty powerful. For like with Ruben saying that he's actually spoken to folks who have called out the Public Housing Authority as being beneficial. I think that gives a flavor to the paperwork that I don't know enough about, given this is my first year and I'm just moved back to San Marcos. So for me personally, I find those testimonials to be really powerful as a supplement to the information that they're providing around how the funds will be used and what programs they support and things like that.
You know,
I'm sorry, Ruben. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Monica. No,
I was gonna say, all the programs are just, again, great programs. It's gonna be another hard decision to make when it comes down to voting, as we have had in previous years. What stood out to me with Bobcat Pride was their overhead was very low. It seemed like the majority of the funds that they would receive would be going directly to the students or the young adults that actually need this help. And it's a safe haven for them, which is really important as they continue their journey in this world, which can be very tough, tougher for some individuals than others. So it's great to hear that they have that support for them. The other one that stood out to me was the teen pregnancy. It's great that this program does exist. What stood out to me and I didn't realize was they are one of very few programs that currently existing in Texas. So that sounds like it's a great program. Of course, great benefits for our community, giving that support to, again, those young individuals, those teen parents that are, you know, going into young adulthood and need that assistance. And hopefully with their pregnancy prevention program, it could assist them in making better choices as to delay having any future children until they're more established or ready for taking on more of those responsibilities. But again, very hard decision. All of them stand out to me, and they're all great programs.
I was going to say that, you know, I have over 30 years of experience in social services. I find it very interesting that I came on back to the commission because I was on the commission when I was younger. When you don't have very much money, you have $500,000. Yeah, last year you had abundance of money. And I'm concerned that we have all these people with new programs and no money to fund them really. You know, I kind of see a scenario where we recommend funding people, and then those who didn't get funded are running to city council to ask for additional funding, and that's city council's prerogative. You know, we don't have anything to do with that. But I almost feel like we ought to say, okay, if you have a new program this year, we're not going to consider it. We're going to freeze what we had from last year to this year because of the lack of funding. Because taking it for example, and I've reviewed all the applications, the home program's asking for 150,000 this year. You know, they got 85, I think, last year. So I'm concerned about stuff like that because those are hot issues. The homeless, I worked with the homeless for over 30 some odd years. It was never a hot issue. I mean, you know, now it's become a hot issue. Everybody wants to be the white knight on a horse to save the homeless. Where were you 30 years ago? I mean, you know, these people have had drug problems throughout the whole tenure. They've had psychological problems through the whole tenure. This is not something new. This is something that we've worked with. Well, you know, the agency I was with, I'm retired now. I tell people I'm retired and retarded, but come on, Carol, that was funny kind of. But, you know, we did the best we could with what we had for that many years. So I'm just saying, is it possible to put a moratorium in place that says, you know, what you got last year, we're going to try to give it to you this year. You know, is that possible? Or do we just make a recommend or just, I guess, score them? Because you all score applications now. In the old days, we didn't score applications. So, you know, do we do it that way? Just score them low?
So I don't see how a moratorium would work just because, oh gosh, sorry. We had so much more money last year that now we're down to that 500,000. And so I'm not understanding how we could do a moratorium and just give people what they got last year.
What I'd like to do is just do a moratorium on new programs and say no new programs, which would resolve probably $200,000-300,000, if not more. And I don't care. I mean, we can do it by scoring and just do it the way you all do it. And I'm fine with that. I'm just thinking to myself, somebody's going to be unhappy. They're going to be very unhappy. And it's going to turn into a situation where, you know, they're the city council. And of course, again, it's their prerogative. It's going to make the decisions. And then we're going to sit by and go, why did we listen to all these people? And why did we do what we did? You know, it's kind of, I want to use the Star Trek, the Borg is futile. I mean, I feel hopeless because a lot of these programs are very good programs. Everybody who presented tonight had a good program, but I feel like the teenage pregnancy program with the school, that could be funded through the school. It's $25,000 for gosh sake. You know, I ran that budget for many years. They can come up with $25,000. Do they want to come up with 25 is another matter. Bobcat, what was it called? Bobcat what?
Pride.
Those, they're talking scholarships. $160 is not a scholarship. I'm not quite sure. I didn't get the, you know, because of the sexuality deal in there, how that becomes a scholarship. Unless that's how they have to do it in order to justify even the $168. Because to me, a scholarship is like giving somebody $5,000 to pay for tuition and to do all that kind of stuff. But if you read their application, they talk about that their program is a scholarship program. Well, then you listen to them and it's completely different. And you're like, okay, well, I mean, I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. You know, handing a student $168, I just don't know.
Ruben, you've muted for some reason. There you go.
That was probably a good thing. But when they say $168 to help pay for rent, food, I want to know what world you're living in because, you know, I've looked at the apartment rents around here. They're $1,700 for a 2-bedroom. You know, come on, 168 is not going to help those individuals. And if you're really serious about helping people with the LBGT community, then just stand up and say, we're going to help you and figure out how that's going to look. Instead of saying, here's $20, go get a sandwich. I mean, to me, I'm sorry, am I being too crude? I like to resolve issues. I don't like to see a Band-Aid approach. I mean, that's all I'm trying to say. I completely support the program. I just don't like the Band-Aid approach. Especially when money's going to be so tight.
We need to be mindful of our time too. It's 8:25.
I'm done.
Any other thoughts?
I'm hoping that we can give everybody something. You know, there are a lot of new programs, but they are good programs. And we do have a limited amount of money. So we're going to have to stretch it wide. But I think that every program that has submitted an application deserves something. So I'm hoping that we can look at it that way. I don't agree, Ruben, about that moratorium, because I think that we'll cause some issues for ourselves if we take that direction. I get it, but I just feel like when we get to the end, we might be able to give everybody something. I think everyone will be grateful for whatever they get because they understand we have limited funds this year.
You know, at one time, Mary, they talked about duplication of services. There are probably 5 different agencies providing utility services. I think, you know, and we've had this discussion where you said they shouldn't have to go to one agency. But because I've been a director of an agency, we helped an individual with only $50 and said, go to the other ones and see if you can raise the rest of the money. That's kind of the standard. So whether we like it or not, they're going to go to all 5 agencies and it's the same pot of money really. And so, you know, Community Action has an absolutely wonderful reputation. They already administer the PEC funds. Wouldn't it be wiser to give one group a certain amount of money to do utility assistance, especially when they have the stuff to do compliance and everything else? It just makes sense to me. There are probably 5 to 6 groups that are doing self-esteem and awareness for young people. That's a lot. And, you know, how many young people do we have that don't have self-esteem and awareness? Now, I'm not saying we don't have them. I'm just saying, why can't we consolidate that somehow? Don't we have a Greater San Marcos Youth Council that is supposed to work together to provide services like that? Okay, I'm totally going to shut up and let you all go.
I mean,
Ruben,
absolutely agree
understand.
with you, Ruben. I think that there's a lot of duplicative services across these different programs. And so that could provide us an opportunity to say, is there other funding that's already provided through some other forum that that maybe can supplement some of the funding needed by these smaller programs and help us to make some decisions that way as well too. So I do agree that there's some duplication across some of these activities.
Keep in mind, some of these groups aren't even in San Marcos. That's kind of what I'm concerned about as well. But I said I'd shut up, so I'm going to be true to my word. Carol.
Ruben, I understand what your concern. All these concerns were brought up last year as well. And that's why we tried to weed out a lot of the duplicate services that we saw and try to talk to them during the presentation time, giving them an alternative, or the food bank that does this, or St. Vincent de Paul gives this as well. And so that was some of the reasons why some of the organizations were not funded last year, because they were so duplicated that it was like, don't y'all know that we have these other services out here? So I do understand what you're saying. And to just have one organization being able to fund that organization and give them the money where you have one place to go to, I think that is city council project, or something that we can mention it to them and see if that's something that they could do. But for now, we've been given the job to give out the grants as fairly as we can. And even though I never did think about that, Ruben, but even though that is a thought that maybe you could bring up to city council and see if that's something that they could do later on.
Can I just ask one question? What, I know I've asked a lot of questions. How many applicants do we have?
36.
So has anybody divided 500,000 by 36?
All day.
If you wanna-
Many
if
times.
you want to give something to one of them, I'm just saying, you know, what are we gonna do? Give them 100,000 each? Not even.
Why don't we can just wait till we get to that point, Ruben, and the score reports too, so that we can have all that time to discuss how we're going to give it out, or if we're going to exclude some like we did before, or what we're going to do. We haven't heard the rest of the presentations either. We are ready to move on, or did anybody have any more comments this time? I'm just trying not to keep us too late. It is now time to receive update from board members on activities since the last meeting. Does any board member have any updates for the group? Any updates? All right, we will move to the next item, which is future agenda items. Board members may provide requests for discussion items for a future agenda in accordance with board's approval of bylaws. No further discussion can be held related to topics proposed until they are posted on a future agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. Does any board member want to request an item to a future agenda? Okay, thank you. We will now move on to the agenda item called question and answer session with public and press. This is an opportunity for the press and public to ask questions related to items on the agenda. Staff, is anyone present in person, online, or by phone to speak to this agenda item?
Yes, we have Joe Castillo, and I'm going to press allow to talk so that he can come over and ask a question.
Yeah, my
Okay.
question is, I believe I'm supposed to do a presentation next week, I believe. Are we supposed to get as far as the scheduled time of when our presentation is on the agenda, or do I need to look at an agenda to make that determination?
If you look at the agenda, the presenters are in order. And so you can kind of guess based on the meeting will start at 7. There will be just a few business items to take care of, and then each one has 10 minutes.
Okay, so I have to look at the actual agenda in order for me to figure out exactly where I am on the agenda versus y'all sending me something
That'd be the easiest way for you to know where you are on the agenda. You're welcome to email cdbg@sanmarcostx.gov. And then we could tell you as well.
Yeah, I'll look at the agenda, and if I have questions, I'll still communicate that back to you. But in the past, we've always had this is your day of your scheduled presentation. This is a guesstimate of what time on the agenda you're going to be, but that's fine. Things are a little different. So, but I'll look in the next few days. It should be posted by when, Carol?
Tomorrow by 3.
Okay, I'll take a look at it, and if I have any questions, I'll reach out to you.
Great. That'll be great.
Okay.
Okay, other than that, I don't see any others who are wanting to speak.
Okay, thank you all for your participation. Do I motion to adjourn the meeting? This motion is made by
Allison,
Allison. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Monica. All in favor, say aye. All against, say nay. Okay, I will now adjourn the meeting at 8:34 p.m. I'll see y'all next Thursday.